Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're talking about the one and only beautiful yellow toad, Mr. Turbo himself. Now, listen, there is no new news, right? We can see there are new posts every single day, though, which is always what we like to see. An active community is a healthy community, right? Consistent posts, even if it's just a couple of words, a sentence, or whatever, is always good. Activity equals good. We can see we are at 113,300 followers. Anyways, let's dive into some of the analysis and some of the data. So we can see, ladies and gentlemen, we are ranked 160 in the world. We're at 310 million market cap, around 30 million volume, right? So volume in general has been very, very slow, right? That's just a fact. We know volume overall in the last week or even two has been fairly slow. Even when we were selling off, it's nothing crazy. I mean, we can literally see if we go even all the way back to August, right? Yeah, 50 million volume, respectable. But then after that, we had some mid 30s, a little bit of 40s. We could see 20s, 18 for a while. Then again, boom, mid 20s in volume, right? Mid 20s, mid 20s, mid 20s, mid 20s. Practically, we've been having mid 20s for the last few days. Even when we've been rising, the volume hasn't really spiked that crazy high. The highest we've gone to is like 32 million volume, right, in the last few days. So for me, this is just a sign of a reversal because the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, usually what happens, right, is, and we saw this last time too, right? If we actually even zoom out month ago, I still think we do have the data from a month. Let's see when we actually started to. This was the end of June, beginning of July. So, might be, yeah, it's a little messed up already. But we can see when we go back here and we look at some of the numbers, which is gonna be hard. We could do this actually, right? We can see that we also had something similar. We had 29 million volume, 30 million, right? Is the same type of numbers, right? Mid 20s, mid 20s. And again, then we got the 30s, and of course, it started to rise, right? Then it started to rise once we kind of got to over here on the chart. But we can see once we do start getting low volume, that's usually signs of reversals because you kind of go from selling off to kind of sideways, and the market just kind of chops a little bit and then it prepares for a pump. Before we dive into the actual technical analysis, let's look at how many holders we have. And we can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have been rising in holders, right? Just on the 26th of July, we were at 56,569 holders. And we can see we've practically gone up roughly 300 in a week and a little bit, week and a half. So very, very solid. And it's really good considering, we have been selling off. We have been going sideways, mainly selling off though. But so it's just organic growth. It's people that believe, see the vision, which is what we love to see, right? No one's leaving. We're still in an uptrend. And I still expect to hit 57,000 holders sooner than later. And I would not be surprised if we get just 1, 2, or 3 days of consistent green candles. We could just hit that, within those 3 days because bandwagon is a thing. And that's just how crypto works pretty much, right? So we can see, ladies and gentlemen, when we dive to the actual technical analysis, we do have some stuff from the previous video already here. We can see that we do have this massive support, which is very, very important to be holding at 0.0031. And we can see we have this massive resistance, which we have to break. 2 points of resistance. The first one being the horizontal one, roughly around 0.0067. And of course, we also have the diagonal one that taps into multiple points, right? As we can see over here, taps into multiple points, which is also around 0.0065, right? It taps into even a little bit lower at one point at 0.0058, but remember, it is moving diagonally, so it works a little bit different. We can see that when we go to something like the 4-hour chart, ladies and gentlemen, the last day has been fairly slow, but it is still technically bullish, right? It's still technically bullish. When we look, we did have a nice bullish daily close, which is obviously what we love to see. Now, when you're seeing this, this is going to be on the Friday, which is, I am recording this around 12 a.m. So you'll see this in around 8 hours. So this is still fairly fresh data, still relevant. And we can see we have created a double bottom at 0.0041. And we know we need this to hold, right? We need this to hold. Even if we do see a pullback, we shouldn't really, in terms of micro moves, probably go lower than 0.0044. I do expect a break to the upside, right? To come back to here to then kind of continue pushing up. That's at least what I would like to see, because even when we go on the hourly, right? The hourly has been treating us nicely. Yes, I do know it's the hourly, but still, right? We have a bottom over here. We have higher bottoms here, a higher bottom here, and we can see the floor is just consistently raising and raising. And even if we go lower, right, I expect it to raise even more. So yeah, I mean, it is fairly bullish. It is fairly bullish on the smaller time frame. We just really need to push through and continue going to the upside. Now, when we go and look at something like Bitcoin, we can see, ladies and gentlemen, right? Boom, we have broken above, and we actually did hit almost 118,000 at one point. And we talked about how we actually expected Bitcoin to literally go between some of these zones, and we can see it's actually been perfect, right? It actually was perfect. We hit between these two red zones, and we went down to was it $114,400, and then we just saw a nice rally over the last day, going up a couple of thousands of dollars. Now, obviously, if Bitcoin is going to be bullish, Turbo should at the bare minimum be seeing some minor gains. I know overall some people are not happy with the ratios because, Bitcoin is around 116,000. Turbo is lower now than it was months ago when, even when Bitcoin was at like 70K. So I understand the frustration, but you have to realize, it is not altcoin season yet. If we go and look at something like this, we go to my crypto wallet and we go to the altcoin chart. This is one of the altcoin indicators, and we really need to take out these two zones pretty much roughly around 8%, right? We need to see a burst to the upside to really start getting confirmation on a higher time frame that we are getting closer and closer to altcoin season, right? And even just actual Bitcoin dominance, it is down to a very crucial area. So once this does start melting away, it is very, very possible that we could start seeing something like Turbo really, really rising. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be ultimately it. I love you guys so, so much. Thank you so much for the support. And yeah, Turbo Army, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow, I guess. I mean, yeah, I don't remember the last time I haven't uploaded a Turbo video. Maybe there was an anomaly. I'm probably on vacation actually. But anyways, I am stalling out too much. Goodbye.